This guy is the #1 player on the server. In the game, he's a hero praised by all with absolute power, wealth, and beautiful women at his disposal. But in real life, it's the complete opposite. He's a pathetic mess because he borrowed 1 billion won from loan sharks to buy a virtual reality gaming machine, and his job writing game guides doesn't even pay much. You should know he wasn't always a nobody. With an IQ of 200, he once stood at the pinnacle of glory. Talk about a fall from grace. Addiction is a terrible thing. Today he continued on his heroic path. But the moment he logged in, some little lowly suddenly appeared before his eyes, introducing herself as the game manager. Her name was Aquila. He thought she was just spewing nonsense. But with a single snap of her fingers, every character suddenly froze in place. Seeing that Juin got a little spooked, maybe she wasn't bluffing after all, she started telling him about a new event celebrating the game's 7th anniversary. A new open world has opened up, and he must become the first person to clear it with a new character, and perhaps there he would find the true ending of the game. Hearing this, he got pissed off. I haven't even managed to beat the game with this character, but after hearing about the 25 billion won reward, his eyes practically caught fire. Aquila then directly transferred 30 million won into his account, causing Jay to scream in delirious joy. He himself hadn't even realized he was the server's top spender, having shelled out over 500 million. Jay accepted the quest instantly. She sprouted large wings with the power to rip through time and space. In the blink of an eye, they appeared on another planet. Before them stood a wooden door. Aquila pointed to it and said, "That was the gate to the new world." Without a moment's hesitation, he headed straight for it. Before going in, he didn't forget to remind her, "Hey, don't forget about the prize money. This time it's in the bag." Just as he stepped through the gate, she announced that if he dies in the game, he'll die in the real world, too. I got played again. That was followed by Jiguan's blood-curdling scream as he landed with a thud in the newbie forest. He struggled to crawl to his feet. What is this pain? Don't tell me that little brat was telling the truth. Damn it, that little lolly. Just you wait. He roared with rage. Just then, the system display sent of the former and future savior of humanity begins the game after abruptly falling into this forest. Jaguin had to find his way on foot. After half a day, his entire body was trembling. He had to use a stick for support. His face growing haggard. Realizing how thirsty he was, he trembled with rage, gritting his teeth and muttering to himself, "Aquila, that damn brat. I'll never forgive her." He looked at his stats on the status screen. The hatred in his heart swelled. Of course, she'd stick me with this piece of crap character. Max's health is only 20. Not to mention, I've only got 3 mana. His eyes were bloodshot red veins clearly visible. I've only been walking for half a day, and I'm already dehydrated. How am I supposed to get the happy ending with a character like this? Suddenly, the sound of water echoed from a distance. Jun's ears perked up instantly. He whipped around as if he discovered something. That was it. A moment later, he found a stream with crystal clear water, so clean you could see the bottom. He burst into tears of joy, exclaiming, "Thank God I happened to read that survival book by Bear Grylls Screw Aquila. But thank heavens this game is so realistic." Right after that, Jaguin leaned down and began drinking greedily. Suddenly, another sound echoed from nearby. The figure of a young woman appeared. Jaguin had heard that sound. He looked up to see what it was. A young woman wrapped in a towel was standing in his line of sight. Jaguin was instantly dumbstruck. The girl's figure was absolutely gorgeous. The beautiful scenery was laid bare right before him. As Jaguin stared at the view, he didn't even notice when his nose started bleeding and the water in his mouth began drooling to the ground like a waterfall. The system immediately sent a notification. "You are excited. You have lost health." In his head, Jaguin wondered, "Oh my God, who is that?" The young woman, seemingly oblivious, calmly continued to wash herself. Jaguin's eyes practically lit up. He was completely captivated by her paying no mind to his surroundings. The next second, a display popped up. "Please pay to unlock the DLC." Seeing this, Jawan flew into a rage and shouted, "What? You're making a top-tier VIP like me pay for DLC? I thought this was the full version of the game." Just then, a group of 4 witches snuck up right behind him. One of them spoke up, "Hey kid, you gotta pay if you want to see the next part." Seeing them, John didn't think twice and immediately asked, "How much?" A moment later, his hands were bound tightly and he was thrown tumbling across the ground. Joan was in so much pain he wanted to cry. He gritted his teeth and stared forward. The young woman from a stream was also a witch. She and the other 4 were a group. A contemptuous voice rang out, "Shut up, you little pervert." The system conveniently warned Jaguin, "You are losing health." The witch leaned down close to his face, stuck out her tongue tauntingly, and said, "If you behave, I might even let you keep your pants on." With that, she stood up straight, turned around, and let out a triumphant laugh. He wasn't the only one captured. There was another man there, too. The man asked with concern, "Are you all right?" But June paid no attention to his words. Instead, he gritted his teeth and asked the witches, "At least tell me how much it costs." Hearing this, the other man asked suspiciously, "What do you mean by that?" June forced a smile and replied, "It's nothing." The man looked at him and then introduced himself. "I see. My name is Lud. I'm a monster hunter." He politely introduced himself in return. "I'm Valor State." "Valor? How'd you end up here?" Lud recalled what had just happened and recounted his story. "Just bad luck, I guess. While chasing his prey, he got lost near the witch's forest." After hearing what the man said, Jagwin thought to himself, "This sounds like really bad luck." After that, Lud turned and asked Jagwin, "So, why did you come here?" He answered awkwardly and vaguely, "It's kind of like your story." In his head, he thought, "I fell down here. There's nothing to be done then." Lud sighed helplessly. "I don't know what you've been through, but that's really terrible. You still look so young." Just then, Jagwin spotted a sharp object nearby. He smirked, thinking it could cut the ropes. "Oh, it's fine," he replied. He looked towards the group of witches and continued confidently, "This kind of situation is my specialty." Hearing this, Lud seemed to find it incredibly hard to believe and asked quietly, You have a way out?" Jagwin didn't answer, but inside he was absolutely certain. "Of course there is." His gaze was glued to the group of witches because I'm the one who wrote the guide on how to beat these witches. Jagwin remembered how he had frantically ground out the game guide for the company. "I spent a full 3 days writing it." The 5 witches of Harvard. They were called that because they appeared in the Harvard forest. Their names were Gunda, Kendura, Endada, Fugen, and finally Hajuju. Although they were an early game boss that players were forced to overcome, thousands had died at their hands, so they were famous for that reason as well. A cunning and calculating smile suddenly appeared on Jagwin's face. But if you look closely, they don't actually get along at all. He licked his lips like a hungry predator. Lud standing behind him was a bit alarmed. "Hey, what's with that look on your face?" Jagwin didn't hesitate another second and spoke up. "Now that I think about it, Miss Fugen, you're still alive." Fugen immediately whipped her head around with a shocked expression. "Huh? A system notification arrived. You have provoked Fugen." Jagwin smiled as he drove a wedge between them. "I clearly remember Miss Hajuju saying she was going to kill you. I told you to shut up." Hearing him say that, Fugen's expression changed instantly. "Wait." She gritted her teeth in anger. "Who's killing who?" "System notification. You have successfully provoked Fugen. Fugen's memo hates Hajuju." Jagwin seized the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. "I'm certain I heard her say she'd kill you to take all your assets." Lud from behind asked in a low voice, "Are you serious?" The rage inside Fugen exploded. "Really? Hajuju, however, asked calmly, "Do you really believe him?" Jagwin's expression was incredibly tense. "That's not all." Hajuju held out her hand, a greedy glint in her eye. "It's not like you use all that money anyway. Why not give me some?" The system sent another notification. "You have successfully provoked Hajuju. Hajuju's memo covets Fugen's assets." After reading it, Jagwin thought to himself, "Perfect," and standing to one side, clapped his hands happily and said, "So that's why Hajuju is making an acid bomb, and Memo doesn't understand the atmosphere." Gunda, on the other hand, was only concerned with food. Whatever. Is the rice ready yet?" Gunda's Memo very Kandura, meanwhile, shouted excitedly, "What's this? Is there a fight? I want to fight too." Kandura's Memo loves to fight. The Harvard witches were thrown into complete chaos by Jagwin. Each one said something that didn't match the others at all. It was more chaotic than a marketplace brawl. "The food. So that's why you've been acting so cocky lately. Let go of my hair, you psycho." Hajuju is always cocky. "Fight, fight." The latest notification from a system. "You have successfully provoked the 5 witches of Harvard." Seeing the dog-eat-dog scene before him, Jagwin laughed with delight. Yes, it's all going according to plan. People might think they have good teamwork because of their title, but this coven has 0 coordination. People just fight them without realizing that. That's why they can kill thousands of people as easily as breathing. When he wanted to make them fight, he just had to. Seeing that the time was right, Jagwin turned and said to Lud, "Lud, we should take this chance to retreat." The man looked at him and remarked, "You're really something else, aren't you?" Jagwin quickly untied them both, but instead of leaving right away, he grabbed the edge of the rug the Harvard witches were standing on. But his face was filled with a clear rage, a scheme already hatched in his mind. Immediately after, he yanked the rug hard, sending the entire group of witches flying high into the air. All 5 of them landed squarely in a bubbling cauldron, screaming in agony. His revenge complete, Jagwin pointed ahead and said with a laugh, "The exit is over there, Lud." The man looked at him with a weary gaze and replied, "All right." Right after that, Jaguan also made a quick escape. New notifications popped up one after another. Ender receives 100 damage. Hajuju receives 100 damage. In his head, Jaguan sneered at the Harvard witches. Stupid witches. They were really dumb, but they gave a lot of EXP. Suddenly, a snake lunged towards him. It coiled tightly around Jaguan's leg, preventing him from escaping. The display also warned, Fugu's snake is wrapped around you. Your movement is restricted. Fugu was still struggling in the cauldron, but she wanted to drag him down with her to die. You treacherous bastard. I'm not dying alone. The snake under Fugin's control began to attack Jaguan. Seeing him in a dangerous situation, the system repeatedly sent out warnings. Jaguan lay on the ground struggling with the snake while shouting, "Damn it, let go of me. Get off." He gritted his teeth, cursing internally. Damn it, I forgot this character of mine is pathetically weak. At that critical moment, Lud turned back to save Jiguan. Let me help. He drew his sword and swung it forcefully. Lud's decisive slash sent the head of Fugin's snake flying. With the danger dealt with, he turned to Jaguan and asked with concern, "Are you all right?" Jaguan was still a bit shaken, but answered strongly, "I'm fine, thanks." He then immediately regained his composure and proposed, "Lud, can I borrow your bow for a second?" Hearing that, Lud seemed quite surprised. You know how to use a bow? Although he didn't answer, the man handed him a bow. As soon as he received it, the system immediately updated with its information. Rut's bow, attack 15, range 30. Jaguan drew the bow, aiming straight at the group of Harvard witches. His voice was incredibly cold. Just a little more. He didn't shoot at them, but aimed straight for the large jar on the shelf, right above their heads. The jar instantly shattered with a crash. The whole group of witches looked up in astonishment. Guju was the first to realize the problem. Her whole body began to tremble. Wait, this isn't good. Fugin, not understanding what was happening, immediately shouted, "What the hell is this?" Guju screamed in terror, "It's an acid bomb." Fugin finally realized and roared in panic. What? The acid spilled out of the jar, and the entire group of witches trembled in fear. Meanwhile, the acid was about to come into contact with something. A second later, a massive explosion erupted. Crimson flames shot high into the air. The Harvard witch's house was now just a pile of ruins. A piece of shrapnel happened to fall and hit Jaguan on the head. The system immediately announced, "You have been hit by shrapnel. You lose 1 health." Rut, standing nearby, muttered with concern. "Did we get them?" Jaguan, with a lump on his head and a dark expression, yelled, "Don't jinx it." As soon as he finished speaking, a series of notifications appeared on the display. You have achieved. The witches were nothing. You have defeated Hei Juju, a witch of Harvard Forest. You have defeated Fugin, a witch of Harvard Forest. You have defeated Kandura, a witch of Harvard Forest. You have defeated Inida, a witch of Harvard Forest. You have defeated Gunna, a witch of Harvard Forest. You have received a total of experience points. You have received 5,000 achievement points. After reading, Jaguan shouted, "We got them," Rut exclaimed in response. "That's great." Looking at the numbers on the display, Jaguan couldn't help but feel overjoyed. Awesome. Getting this much at a low level is super lucky. Now I just need to get that thing. Rut, just now, remembering his contribution, expressed his gratitude. "I thought I was a goner. You saved me." He took out something that immediately caught Jaga's attention. "It's not much." Rut smiled as he prepared to hand him a pouch. "But would you accept this as a thank you gift?" A system notification chimed almost instantly. "You have received red dragon fruit." Jaguan's eyes lit up. "This is unexpected. Are you really giving these to me? I don't remember this happening in my previous playthrough." Rut laughed and explained, "They seemed valuable, so I took them from the witch's place." The moment he finished speaking, Jaguan snatched the pouch from his hand. "Thanks." Without hesitation, he emptied the entire pouch into his mouth. His sudden action left Rut stunned and unable to react. Jaguan's muscular strength instantly increased. "You are now a dragonoid possessing great power." He greedily chewed the remaining red dragon fruits in his mouth. "I can feel my stats skyrocketing. Strength plus 100, agility plus 120, stamina plus 150. They've all increased. A regular player like me could never have dreamed of something like this. This is really my lucky day." Seeing this, Rut just smiled faintly, looking at him with interest. Rut then held out his hand and proposed, "Are you interested in hunting monsters?" However, Ju just gave him a cold look, his mouth still chewing greedily. Then he swallowed everything down in one gulp, leaving the other man speechless. Only after he finished eating did Ju wave his hand and reply, "Sorry, but I have things to do." Hearing this, Rut remarked, "Quite the busy young man, aren't you?" In turn, Jaguan suddenly realized something. Wait, isn't this an opportunity? He quickly pieced the information together. "I don't have a class yet, so there's no way to use this huge amount of experience. If I just leave it, It'll disappear after a month. Meanwhile, Rut had turned his back and was about to leave. Well, I'm off. But Zhu unexpectedly held up 3 fingers. 3 months. His tone was full of confidence as he declared to the man, "Is 3 months enough?" As for Rut, that arrogance made him scoff. "You don't mean 3 years. And so the two of them headed deeper into the forest where lush green canopies grew close together, obscuring the path. When they found a suitable spot, he said, "First go into the forest and hide wherever you want." Rut leaned one hand against a tree, looking completely at ease. "I'll find you in 30 minutes. His request surprised Jaguan a little. Monster tracking skill from the hunter skill tree. Huh? You catch on fast? And so Rut stayed by the waterfall, while Jay quickly ran off to hide. I've explored this forest countless times. His arm even twitched slightly with excitement. I could walk through this forest with my eyes closed. This was all he was waiting for. Ju shot off like a flash. I remember every single twig. First, he easily leaped over the small branches. The dense canopy makes it easy to lose your way. Poisonous spores from toxic mushrooms are scattered everywhere. Dangerous scenes from his memories flashed before his eyes, and ferocious beasts, even more dangerous than those witches. Jay continued to swing on vines. Most of this is already etched into my mind. Plus, thanks to the red dragon fruit, my stamina is nearly maxed out. Even now, he was still smirking smugly to himself. He won't find me easily. But a moment later, Ju's expression froze in shock. Huh? Rut's intimidating face appeared. Peekaboo. Jaguan was thrown into a panic. Wait, what? Then the man began his evaluation. 50 points. Try harder. But for your enthusiasm and effort, I'll add a 10-point bonus. Jay, still stunned, hurriedly asked, "How did you find me?" That reaction only amused him more. "You have such a curious look on your face." Then Rut stroked his chin and muttered cheerfully, "It's been a while since I've had such an interesting student." And after that opening act, he continued to lead them elsewhere. "Come on, let's give it our all." The system immediately stamped its approval, recognizing you have completed the Hunter's Initiation Ceremony quest. A new quest has been updated, the Hunter's Challenge, Dip Bull. And then countless achievements flooded in. You have obtained a Monster Hunter class. You have learned the Herbalism skill. You have learned the Intermediate Swordsmanship skill. You have learned the Survival skill. You have learned the Flint Lock Marksmanship skill. All of this, Jay witnessed on the system window with a satisfied smile. But gradually that smile twisted into something more distorted and cunning. And so the training went smoothly, taking place in that deserted forest. I look forward to working with you. Before long, 3 months had passed. To Ruth's astonishment, you've learned all of that already. Ju then pointed towards the forest and mountains. You don't believe me, do you? In that case, you go high, master. Honoring his wish, the old man quickly stood up and said, I've always admired your passion. All right, then I'll go hide. Before leaving, Ruth didn't forget to whisper, but if you can't find me within an hour, then you're making dinner tonight. Without a hint of fear, he immediately replied, Of course, master. The moment Ruth's figure vanished, that terrifying face reappeared. I've been looking forward to this. As for Ruth, he was now clinging to a high cliff face. I'm so glad I found such a talented disciple at the end of my life. His palm tightened its grip on his handhold. Still, maybe I should lower the difficulty a bit for him. Huh? At the same time, Ruth confidently told himself, if I hide on the edge of this cliff, there's no way he'll find me in an hour. However, he had barely finished his thought when Ju's hand grabbed him by the ankle. Caught completely by surprise, Ruth could only turn around and unconsciously let out a gasp. Right below him, Jay flashed a devilish grin. Peekaboo. This left Ruth completely stunned. What? The next time he tried, he was found just as easily. So you were here. At that moment, he silently thought to himself, it's only been 3 months. After that, he tried his best, but was only met with a face-whitening fright. So you were here? That's why Ruth's thoughts grew more muddled. He's already mastered the longer the game of chase went on. The more it looked like Jay was just taking a stroll. Found you. Meanwhile, his mind was in absolute chaos. But it took me 5 years to learn this. This continued until Ruth hid in a pitch-black cave. He trembled and said to himself, there's no way he can track me all the way here, right? Probably not. Meanwhile, behind him, a giant creature was sound asleep. This is a hellhound's lair, after all. But that fantasy was shattered when Zeus spoke up. Tip number 1 from a human guardian. Appearing out of nowhere, he made Ruth jump. Even an earthquake won't wake a sleeping hellhound. After scaring Ruth to his heart's content, he smugly asked, did I pass? The response was Ruth's stubborn, sweat-drenched face. Yeah, by the time they got outside, he started praising him. That was incredible to think you've mastered all those skills and in just 3 months. Ju humbly replied, It's all thanks to your teachings, master. However, Ruth denied it. No, it's because of your talent. Actually, I just used my 5-hit combo skill. Come on, master. It was all thanks to you. Hearing that, Ruth burst out laughing. Is that so? While Ju thought to himself, I maxed out all my skills using the massive XP from the witch hunt. In the end, Ruth was still full of praise. You're truly skilled. You even remember the monster ecology tips I taught you. Did I teach you about hellhounds, though? In response to that question, Ju just gave a practice smile. That's because I'm the actual author of that monster ecology guide. Then Ruth awkwardly admitted to him, I've never met anyone like you before. You're definitely destined for great things. Very quickly after that, he grew a bit curious. What do you plan to do now? Is it that quest you mentioned before? J'en suis de Bruntley. First, I'm going to make money. Everything starts with money. That ideal intrigued Ruth. Excellent. I have a close friend who works as a mercenary. How about it? Want to try being a mercenary? At his suggestion, Zhu fell into deep thought. Oh, that sounds like an attractive offer. Being a mercenary is the best way to make money at the start. Gradually, Zhu began to speculate gleefully. Most importantly, it's freelance and flexible. If I'm lucky, I might even be able to meet the other guardians of this game. And with that, Jay enthusiastically shook Ruth's hand. I'll become a mercenary. He also agreed very quickly. Is that so? Following that, he held out a shiny object. In that case, take this. It's my old mercenary insignia. With it, my friend will recognize you right away. At the same time, Ruth sincerely said, Good luck, Valos. Ju immediately responded with vigor. Yes, Master Ruth. And with that, the two of them went their separate ways, each with their own ideals. Perfect. Defeating the witch and getting a starting class like this is more than good enough. Jay looked at the insignia again and thought with certainty. At this rate, even a happy ending isn't far off. Don't you want to see the ending? Right then, the mysterious Aquila held a block of wood in his hand. Perhaps it does exist. There are still clues leading to the true ending. Meanwhile, Jay was ready to press the log out button, right? You never know when you're going to die. That's what makes this game of life and death so great. Jay also told himself that he had to use this tension to his advantage. To steel his resolve, he even slapped his own face hard. After that, Ju confidently took his first steps. Wait for me, Aquila. I swear I'll reach the Chu engine. At the same time, a system message appeared. You have completed the hidden mission, Hunter's Trial. New mission updated. Join the Mercenary Guild. The scene then shifts to Aquila, who can't stop laughing. She's so amused, she has to quickly wipe tears from her face. That was hilarious to think he tricked those witches. That was brilliant, Aquila said cheerfully. Good thing I was still watching him. Suddenly, a pair of slender legs landed behind her, accompanied by a majestic aura. Van Fuga slowly began to speak. So it's him. He's definitely no ordinary. Noticing her presence, Aquila started to tease. Well, what's this? You like him, don't you? Gradually, Van Fuga's beautiful face appeared right behind her. Van Fuga gently brushed her hair aside and replied, Aquila, I am a god. How could I possibly look at a human I meant to protect in that way? Hearing that, she chuckled. Why not? He's cute. But in response to that playful remark was her stern gaze. Aquila, however, just said cheerfully, You're always so serious. You used to be much more fun, but let's put that aside. She gently placed her hand on the chair and changed the subject. That was a long time ago. Hey, did you really pay off all his debt? She quickly shot back. That was taken care of ages ago. Van Fuga glanced at her, questioning. So he's still working to pay off a debt he doesn't even know has been settled. Aquila just laughed nonchalantly. That's right. This made Van Fuga exclaim, You're cruel. Despite that, Aquila continued watching the screen, thoroughly amused. Why wouldn't I be? It's amusing. Just look at him. On the screen, Ju was chatting amicably with Root, full of life. Van Fuga slowly nodded. You're a terrible person. Her playful voice rang out in reply. Thank you. Then she brought up something else. So, Aquila? Van Fuga asked, a hint of suspicion in her voice. Is he part of your plan this time, or just a toy? In return, Aquila simply crossed her legs, lost in thought for a moment, but she quickly found her answer. Let's just say he's a promising talent. At the same time, her eyes began to glow pink with excitement. Zhu was on his way to the next location. Keep observing him. After his arduous journey, Zhu collapsed from exhaustion. My legs hurt so much. At the same time, the system announced, You are in a state of exhaustion. In his despair, he couldn't help but complain. This damn forest, why is it so brutal? Even so, Zhu struggled to push himself up. It's only thanks to this body that I was able to get out of the forest in half a day. Time to get moving again. Then a large city came into view. The Mercenary Guild is right in front of me. Zhu quickly entered the city walls and ducked into a tavern. A bell chimed as he walked in. A woman named Sudan immediately came out with a bright smile. Welcome to Franco's Frankfurt's Best Tavern. How can I help you? The system immediately updated. You have entered Franco's Tavern. As for Zhu, her beauty left him completely flustered. Actually, I'm looking for someone. She replied cheerfully. Oh, I see. First, let me show you to a seat. As she led him, he took in the atmosphere. Just as I expected, a tavern is the best place to gather information. Good wine, cheerful people, and the fragrant smell of food. If there's any place I can find information about mercenaries, this is it. Zhu's eyes quickly scanned the young man. People talk more when they're in high spirits. Then, as his thoughts wandered, his face suddenly flushed red. And most of all, the waitresses are incredibly cute. Carried away by his happy thoughts, Zhu said, Yep, this is definitely the place. By the way, do you know someone named Reyes Chat? The moment he spoke, the entire tavern fell silent. The waitress beside him trembled with fear. Sir, that name is forbidden here. Hearing this, Zhu was even more surprised. Huh? Why? His answer came from Sudan's terrified expression. He's very dangerous. My boyfriend got involved with him once. Her next halting words were even more horrifying, and he came back looking like a mummy. Sudan added that other people here had also suffered at his hands. At the same time, a system notification appeared. Tavern morale has decreased. Meanwhile, the men in the tavern started talking nervously amongst themselves. Heard you caught another rat. Nice one. Nah, I just barely managed to kill a slime. Jay was still completely overwhelmed by the sight, thinking to himself, Ruth, what the hell did you get me into? But before he could even process it, Claire was already pushing him away. Sir, run. He's coming. The situation threw him into utter confusion. Huh? What? Suddenly Zhu's face collided with someone's solid figure. The pain made him groan, clutching his head. Who is that? Meanwhile, the person in front of him came closer and answered, It's me. Then the stern and equally terrifying face of Reeves appeared. My name is Reyes Chat. Then in a fleeting second, the man spotted the insignia on his hip. Reyes casually grabbed it. What's this? Isn't this Ruth's mercenary insignia? Then you must be the guy. Zhu, on the other hand, was stunned. Since when did he? As for Reeves, he burst into a cheerful laugh. Perfect. I was just looking for a teammate. A companion. By now, however, Jay was terrified. What did you just say? What kind of teammate? Something sounds off about that. Ruth, you bastard. In stark contrast to him, the man flashed a wicked smile. Just kidding. It was at that moment he silently vowed. You just wait, Ruth. The next time I see you, you're dead meat. The two of them then moved outside, and that's how I ended up becoming a reluctant teammate. Companion dragged into the war between the Elector and the Pajamas faction. Rebes nodded in satisfaction. Exactly. You catch on quick. You got a sharp mind. He then let out a loud laugh, making Zhu suspicious, even though this feels like I'm being forcibly conscripted into some country's army. But in reality, this is a great opportunity. In his head, however, he was carefully calculating. The Elector is one of the guardian gods of this game, one of the major powers in this region. Zhu silently stroked his chin and smiled. Through him, I can find clues about the other guardian gods. Suddenly, a horn blew. A horn blared right next to them. Reeves immediately threw an arm around his shoulder. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. However, that action accidentally triggered the system. You have been ambushed. HP decreased by 30. Right after a squad of heavily armored soldiers marched majestically down the road. That's the Elector's entire escort. Reeves watched the scene, full of self-admiration. Heavens, look at me. I'd fit right in with that group, wouldn't I? Zhu beside him was also in awe. This is a little different than I imagined. I used to be on the opposing side. Following that thought, he quickly spotted Philip. Is that the Elector over there? He looks just like a villain. At the same time, the system announced, you have just seen the Elector, a guardian god. But it didn't stop there. Zhu's expression changed even more dramatically. The clearer his view became, the more his jaw dropped in disbelief. She's here. Zhu's eyes were fixed on long flowing hair. The person's hand gripped the reins tightly, and the sword at their hip gleamed. From that appearance alone, he instantly recognized her. Van Fugus is here, too. At that moment, Philip slowly glanced towards her. Then he asked in a low voice, is something wrong? Van Fugus seemed startled for a moment, but she quickly denied it, lowering her head. It's nothing, my lord. And just like that, the procession moved further away from Zhu. The battle awaits. Philip's voice answered softly. Indeed, back with Zhu, he was recalling old memories. She was my companion in my previous playthroughs. But what followed was a brutal memory. I could never save her in any of my attempts. In each of those lifetimes, all Zhu could do was grit his teeth and endure. The outcome was always the same. Suddenly, Reyes asked curiously, something wrong? Out loud, He quietly answered no, but inside, Ju thought otherwise. This time, even if it cost me my life. With that resolute thought, he began to walk. I will create an ending where she lives. The next place the two of them headed to was the mercenaries' training grounds. Everyone was sectioned off, competing relentlessly against one another. The atmosphere made Ju laugh nervously. Damn, this is intense. Are these the Navy SEALs or something? Rebes came up beside him. Getting started already. The system promptly updated. You have entered the training grounds of the Reeves Chat Mercenary Corps. Then he added cheerfully, perfect timing. We're choosing a team leader through one-on-one duels. There's prize money too. At Rabba's words, Jay watched how they were all fighting. Pride of money, huh? Even so, Jay calmly thought to himself, but I'm only here to get close to the elector. That's all. It's best to just keep quiet for now. Meanwhile, Reeves gripped his shoulder firmly. You're participating too. And just like that, he shoved his terrifying face right up close to Ju's. Of course you are. Ruth wouldn't send some clueless rookie over now, would he? His words made Ju tremble uncontrollably. Did anyone even ask me? As for Reeves, after making his declaration, he bellowed out to the entire area. Anyone want to test their skills against the new blood? He was immediately met with a chorus of excited shouts from countless people. Fresh meat, huh? I'm first. Then continuous arguments broke out. Amidst the chaos, he could only smile helplessly. I can't even object. This feeling is so familiar. Well, I guess I'll have to make a bit of an impression first, but very quickly after, someone had been chosen and was now facing Ju. First, he politely introduced himself. I'm Max. It's a pleasure to meet you. At the same time, the system window appeared. Mercenary Max has challenged you to a duel. His next words were suddenly filled with contempt. Look at that body of yours. I bet you'd snap in two with just one hit. In return, he was silently assessing his opponent. Im valor. Step valor. So rude. If I posted a picture of myself on Star Pic, I'd get 1,000 likes, you know? The lengthy introductions were quickly cut short when Reyes spoke up. Are both sides ready? At that prompt, both of them immediately became serious and got into their fighting stances. Good. Begin. Just a second after the command, Max charged forward at high speed. The price for his recklessness was having his sword knocked right back. The expressions on the faces of the onlookers, including Reyes, instantly turned to shock. As for the battle, Max was already knocked out on the ground along with the notification. You have defeated Mercenary Max Fame plus 15. And just like that, countless shouts rang out. What just happened? Max went down in just one hit. Meanwhile, Jay was sneering inwardly. Well, of course, after eating the red dragon fruit, my strength is now on par with an ogre's. But before he could even rest, countless people were already swarming him. I have to know what you're using. Fight me. Me too. Me too. Faced with this chaos, he started sweating profusely out of fear. One at a time, please. And so Ju proceeded to take down another person with intermediate swordsmanship. Fame plus 15. The next person was tightly bound by his monster binding technique. Fame plus 15. And it didn't stop there. Jay even used monster headbutt on his next opponent's face. Fame plus 15. After many had been defeated, a confident voice suddenly rang out. What is this nonsense? You're all embarrassing yourselves in front of Rookie. An updated info panel appeared right next to him. Mercenary Sharkit is taunting you. Meanwhile, Sharklot was striding forward aggressively. I'll be your opponent. In stark contrast, Jay was terrified. What is that thing? He's so huge. Is he even human? Because of that, he hurriedly opened the settings screen. This is too much. I have to log out. However, the logout button just stayed there unresponsive. What the hell? I can't even log out. Helpless in his current predicament, Jay wearily raised a finger. Thanks again, Aquila. Just let me rest for a bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. In return, he was met with Sharklot's massive body pouncing at him. No way. Jay was completely helpless, so he just stood there motionless. What a rotten fate. But then he slowly closed his eyes. All right then. If it's come to this, I'll just have to settle this once and for all. The next second, Ju's eyes shot wide open. Let's settle this. His small but powerful hand immediately gripped his opponent's wrist. With his other hand, he grabbed onto the shirt was wearing. From there, he gained momentum and slammed him down with a monster slam. Just like that, Sharklot crashed stunningly onto the floor, cracking the ground beneath him. He was knocked unconscious. What the hell was that monster slam? Meanwhile, Jay was panting exhausted. You have defeated Mercenary Sharkit. Fame plus 30. Even Blake and Reyes were amazed. Captain, where on earth did you find this guy? Unbelievable. Even Sharkit lost. At that moment, Bruce and Ken suddenly rushed towards him. No way did you really beat Sharkit. You really are a monster. Skinny as a rail, but strong as a demon. Then they roughly shook Zu's shoulders. Let me fight you too. But he himself had practically given up. Just let me rest, you damn bastards. Suddenly Ray has appeared with a fiercely intimidating aura. Everyone step aside. That action inadvertently made Ju happy. I'm so touched. He's showing concern for me like that. Is it because I'm Vu and LT, Unk and GT's disciple? But his joy was short-lived. The man decisively pointed at him. Very good. You're chosen. I want you to be the team leader for this battle. The moment he heard that, his whole body immediately froze. Valor, istepi, valor. However, Ju couldn't utter another word as he was immediately dragged onto the battlefield. Amidst a formation of brawny, muscular men, he trembled as he took the lead dagger in hand. Just then, a seal was stamped. Hidden quest, join the mercenary guild completed. A new mission was updated. Retake Hapil. The battlefield was now swarming with soldiers as the wind kicked up clouds of dust and smoke blanketing everything. Waiting for the right moment, Reeves decisively yelled, "Charge!" The human army roared in response, raising their weapons high as the sharp points of their spears aimed directly at the orcs. To surround them, Zu on this side had already taken one down with his dagger. As he struck, he kept reminding himself, right now, we're fighting alongside the Marquis faction. Suddenly, time flashed back to when Reeves was explaining the strategy. We will directly confront the Demon King's goblin army, the Pesmus faction. He then clenched his fist with determination, and our mission is simple. Seize the enemy commander war banner. Rebs further explained the plan. Once our forces break their tight formation, and we will slip through that opening and collapse their entire, then he slowly reminded them. But remember, these are proud goblin warriors. They're not just strong, their coordination is among the best on the continent. Finally, Rex forcefully pointed directly at Ju. Now then, Valo stepped Valo. And that's why he was now facing two orcs alone. Your job as the squad leader is to hold them back. Countless spears stabbed down, tearing his clothes, but they couldn't touch him. Seizing the opportunity, you charge forward. Well, my job as squad leader. In the blink of an eye, he had sent all their weapons flying. Don't give me that crap. I was just planning to then, Jay muttered in frustration. Earn some merits, and then get the hell out of here. Meanwhile, Drake was rushing to report, Captain, bad news. Our spearmen are falling apart. Hearing this, the captain furrowed his brow. Impossible. My elite spearmen wouldn't just collapse. With that thought, he violently snatched the spyglass. Give that to me. Then Dean immediately put it to his eye and observed the situation from afar. After watching for just a moment, he couldn't help but exclaim, huh? Gradually, Dean became even more shocked. What the hell is that? Over on this side, Jew soldiers were fighting with absolute frenzy. Smash them all for me. It was their unusual morale that made him break out in a panicked sweat. Dean frantically gave the order, formal aligned riflemen fire, his comrades, and he quickly raised their shields. Shield durability has decreased by 1,220 out of 2,300. Jay was even a little smug. Rifles are too damn weak. You guys know what a K2 is, huh? Without rapid fire mode, rifles have to fire in alternating rows. Meanwhile, the enemy was making their move. The first row finished firing. The second row prepared to take aim. And at that very moment, he knew now's the time. The next second, Jay single-handedly used his shield to push the horde of orcs into one spot. Thanks to the path he cleared, the others advanced with ease. Charge! Tear them to pieces. But Drake on the opposing side was stunned. No way. They were all sent flying by that little shrimp of a kid. Now he had to face the crowd alone. These bastards. They're not human. But I absolutely cannot let them take this. The more he thought, the tighter Drake gripped the wooden shaft. This banner carries the glorious history of my people. And until the very last moment, he was helpless against their combined attack. I will never. A blood-curdling scream followed along with the celebration of the entire squad. They immediately cheered. Squad leader Valo has captured the enemy banner. The system also congratulated him instantly. You have successfully seized the war banner. Leadership plus 30, achievement plus 20. Jay himself thought gleefully. That's right. Now I just need to hold out a little longer, and the merits will be all mine. The thought had barely formed when it was cut off by the sound of a horn. Mark, who was nearby, suddenly reported in a panic, squad leader, more bad news. At that moment, their army had split into two separate parts. Our allies are retreating. Hearing that, Jew only had time to exclaim, what? At the same time, Mark added, goblin reinforcements have arrived. He could see them, too, which made him panic even more. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Accordingly, the thoughts in Jew's head began to spiral. Victory was just within reach. Why would they run away at a time like this? Suddenly, Mark, trembling all over, stammered to him. Squad leader, what do we do now? Should we drop the banner and run for it? That suggestion was immediately shot down by him. What the hell did you just say? Faced with that harsh reaction, he slowly looked around. But there are only 4 of us left, and we're surrounded by orcs. We're trapped. Hidden Boss Goblin. Great General Kelion appeared at the same time with a powerful aura. It's over. With bloodthirsty, glowing red eyes, his mouth full of sharp teeth slowly opened to speak. Brave human warriors. He stood right before them and said, "Surrender and retreat. These are my proud elite soldiers. If you agree to retreat now and leave the banner behind, I will acknowledge your courage and spare your however." Ju suddenly pulled out the banner threateningly. "In your dreams, take one more step, and this precious banner of yours will end up right in Zaklot's underwear drawer." As soon as he heard that, Kion gritted his teeth in fury. "You dare our sacred war banner? You intend to put it in such a filthy place?" His response was pure mockery from Zu. "You think there are rules in war for victory? I'll wipe this banner of yours all over the place. Just you watch." Nearby, the system also commented enthusiastically, "You have attempted to threaten Cleon." This time, an orc couldn't hold back and roared, "Captain!" Even he was agitated now. "What? Damn it." Kion suddenly paused for a moment longer with an unreadable expression. In the end, he still gave a decisive order. "All units, prepare to fire." The sudden change in the situation left Ju stunned. As for Kalen, he directly pointed at the target with a short command. "Fire." The moment the word was spoken, countless cannonballs rained down upon their bodies. The system also began to announce, "Your threat failed." Jay himself was bewildered. In previous playthroughs, they had never given up their beloved flag so easily. In the midst of that dire situation, his eyes darted around, and he quickly saw the mercenaries struggling to hold their ground. Some were trying their best, while others were screaming in fear. Damn it, they brought out a great general that's cheating. And that's not all. The situation for the other military units wasn't any better. With my current reputation and rank, there's no way I can fight that monster. And with that, Ju's world went dark. What should I do? What do I do now? Suddenly, a memory unintentionally flooded back to him. He was enjoying the view with his comrades, a happy look on his face as he took in the atmosphere. But then Akila's mysterious laugh shattered the space, followed by the cold words she uttered, "You die in real life, too." You know, it was that cruel truth that shocked Jay back to his senses. Behind him, Max was relentlessly urging him, "Leader, you have to give an order, or we'll really get wiped out." He stammered in response. "Right, of course." Just like that, the corners of Zu's lips curled slightly into a faint smile. Right after that, he threw his head back and laughed out loud, startling his comrades. Has he really gone mad? Before they could understand, he violently snatched the horn. "Give me that horn." His action left the other man completely bewildered. There are no reinforcements left. On the other hand, he confidently retorted, "Shut your mouth and watch, you pighead." Next, Jay took a deep breath before blowing the horn, and in the very next moment, the sound of the horn echoed across the entire battlefield full of orcs. This was very confusing for Mark. "Leader, our troops aren't in that direction." Ju's curt reply came back. "I know, damn it. Shut up and cover me." Next, he even let out a smirk. "Now we're even, you know. Akila, if you have any conscience left, you won't abandon me, right?" In this critical moment, Jay still roared defiantly. "After all, I'm still a VIP customer." Kalion's command rang out at the same time. "Spearman, charge." Just like that, Drake gripped his spear tightly and prepared to strike. Before making his move, the man shouted in anger. The sworn enemy of our people, Zu, had no escape route left and had to face the sharp point Hedon. Suddenly, the situation before him changed as Drake was struck by an arrow. Following his fall was the silhouette of a knight leaping through the air. All the orcs that were drawn to it, looking up at Van Peruse with stunned expressions, and very quickly her horse's hooves landed safely on the ground. Van Peruse continued to pull on the reins, then reassured our troops, "Don't give up." Finally, she pointed her sword straight at the enemy to rally the soldiers' spirits. "Raise your sword, soldiers." Just then, Call declared aggressively, "All units, do not interfere. This battle is between me and facing him." Van Pergus calmly drew her sword. "The Countess of Median. This is a duel between nobles." Hearing his words, she whispered, "So you do appreciate a bit of romance." Then Van Peruse suddenly swung her sword first, but he managed to dodge in time. The clash of swords rang out once more. As they both parried and countered simultaneously, Zu watched the scene with admiration. Amazing. A perfectly matched fight. Van Pergus is still in the early stages of her storyline, and yet she's already this strong. At that moment, she and Callan had just knocked each other's swords away to counterattack. In that instant, the man's face suddenly contorted in surprise. The reason for his astonishment was that Van Peruse had leaped straight in front of him. Then she delivered a powerful kick to his head, stunning him. Call staggered back his hand, unconsciously touching his wound. Then he suddenly exclaimed, "As expected, you are impressive. Not just your swordsmanship, but your close-quarters combat is on another level, too." With that, Callian added his speculation. "You belong to the Vampire Abbey, don't you? A military order like that would make sense." In response, Van Pergus replied coldly that she simply revered the holy gods with a pious heart. Her explanation made him chuckle inwardly. "Is that so?" As for Van Pergus, she quickly tightened her grip on the sword in her hand. "It seems night has fallen." With those words, her nimble feet swiftly leaped off the ground. The two blades clashed again in a powerful blow. Kalen didn't yield an inch, gritting his teeth and putting more strength into it. With his robust physique, he easily gained the upper hand in the struggle, but in return, his carelessness left a huge opening, allowing Van Perus to jump high. In the next second, she executed a precise slash, drawing a line down his body from above. And after that fatal blow, Kim began to sway, his last words being, "That was a good fight." And with his defeat, the atmosphere became breathtakingly silent. Gradually, the panicked screams of the orc troops began to ring out. "The commander has been taken down. All units retreat." Meanwhile, Ju was still in awe. That terrifying-looking general was defeated in a single blow. His eyes were fixed on her back, just as expected from the knight Nun Van Pergus. Right now, the enemy forces were scattering in chaos to retreat. As for Van Pergus, she suddenly struck up a conversation with him. "You must be the leader of this mercenary group." She also offered a polite greeting. "I could feel your courage from afar. My name is Van Pergus." Zu also quickly shook her hand. "It's a great pleasure to meet you. I am Val State." Upon hearing that name, Van Perus replied cheerfully, "Valo." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Sir Valo." He in turn was feeling very grateful. "Von Bearfish." He bowed his head. "If it weren't for you, Lady Van Pergus, all of us would be dead by now." But inside, Ju could not stop blaming himself. "I'm not who I used to be. I should have been more careful." Suddenly, the mercenary troops quickly approached them. As one of them got closer, a flag in his hand, he smiled brightly and said, "Why are you staring at the ground, Sir Valo?" Then with a voice full of confidence, he continued, "Take this." Right after he said that, a system notification appeared. "The mercenaries' trust in you has increased." Ju was utterly confused. "I'm getting credit for that." Stunned, he suddenly recalled their life or death struggle. The bullets striking their shields, the determined faces of the men holding their ground. It all flashed before his eyes. Finally, he thought of his own unyielding will during that moment. Then, Ju's entire body started to tremble uncontrollably. "I get it now." And with that, he burst into a hearty laugh. He was overcome with joy. He immediately snatched the flag and shouted, "This victory flag is mine." But his outburst frightened many of the others. "Captain, get a hold of yourself. Did the captain get shot in the head or something?" And so the fierce battle came to an end. However, everything returned to the familiar Frank Showa Tavern. That day, a very rough customer burst through the door. This Brother Baptist was panting as he frantically looked around, startling Charlie, who had been stuffing his face. Noticing the commotion, he was startled and rushed over. "Were you in another battle? Are you hurt?" In contrast, the other replied awkwardly, "I'm fine." Uncle Ju, who was nearby, quietly wondered, "Who's that girl? Is that his daughter?" "His daughter." Reyes immediately shook his head. "Don't be ridiculous. Charlie's only 15 years old." Hearing that, he firmly denied it. But the man insisted again, much to his "That's Charlie's little sister." Suddenly, she grabbed Zu by the shirt. "It's your fault my brother ended up like this. Pay his hospital bills." Charlie then rushed to intervene, but the doctor immediately shouted, "Brother, stay out of this." At the same time, a system notification popped up. "You have entered the confused state." Rex, despite being at the same table, simply ordered calmly, "I'll have another one of these, please." Sujin replied softly, "All right." Finally, Charlie hesitantly explained, "Hey, stop. It's thanks to Captain Valo that I made it back safely." Hearing that, his sister paused. "What did you say?" And that wasn't all. Others in the tavern started to chime in. "That's right. If it weren't for the captain, we'd be the main course at a goblin feast by now. We're only alive thanks to the captain. Hooray for Valo." The cheerful shouts continued to ring out. "Hooray for Valo." The more Ju heard, the more embarrassed he got. "Just eat your little pigs. This is so embarrassing." And of course, they teased him for that moment too. "Look, Captain Valo is blushing. He's so cute." Amidst the lively atmosphere, Van Perus appeared once again in front of the tavern. Valo, his face still in a wide, embarrassed grin, saw her. He unconsciously glanced over his tone, turning to surprise at her rushed appearance. "Kalantish Van Pergus." A short while later, the two of them were walking down a road in the middle of the garrison. As they walked, Van Pergus explained, "His Highness, the Elector wishes to see you." He most likely wants to reward you for your distinguished service in the battle. He nodded in understanding. Oh, is that so? Noticing his lukewarm reaction, she asked, is that not something to be pleased about? It's the highest honor a mercenary can receive. Even so, he thought to himself, this feels a bit strange. Isn't she a little too pleased about this? Then Ju commented, I have to say, Countess, you seem more excited about this than I am. At this, she suddenly requested, call me Van Pergus, not Countess. Hearing this, Ju readily agreed. Ah, all right, Van Peruse. Then Van Peruse gestured to the people around them. Look, Sir Vallo, if not for your courage, all of those people would have lost their lives. Those soldiers owe you their lives. But her next heartfelt words stunned him even more. They are also citizens of this empire. You saved every single one of them. What more reason do you need to be happy? Familiar memories suddenly came flooding back to him. That's right. Ever since that day, only Van Peruse had stood up to protect him, her arms outstretched and a brilliant smile on her face. Van Pergus, she hasn't changed at all. Slowly, he began to accept it. The only thing that has changed is our relationship, because now I'm just a mercenary. The two of them soon stopped in front of a deserted tent. She stepped inside to announce their arrival. Your Highness, I have brought Val. A voice echoed from inside. Excellent. Well done. As Jay looked closer, his eyes were drawn to a brilliant gemstone. So you're the one they call Vo. Philips, along with his retainers, was waiting for him at a worked. It is a great pleasure to meet you. I am the Steel Elector, he said before stating his name. He paused intentionally. Trying to appear, Vallo responded to him cautiously. It is a great honor to meet you, Your Highness. So this is the renowned warrior. I can feel the pressure just by standing near him. Then Philip continued cheerfully. Vallo the grass cutter. Praise flowed endlessly from his lips. Your courage is truly impressive. You fight as fiercely as a lion. Hearing this, Jew responded humbly. You flatter me, Your Highness. Even so, he gave a cunning smirk. Not at all. A man who renders service on the battlefield must be rewarded accordingly. Reward his comrades with 100 florins, and reward him with 300 florins. At that generous offer, he immediately bowed to express his gratitude. I will remember the grace Your Highness has bestowed upon me. Philip was very pleased. Good. Is there anything else you require? His tone was a bit hesitant now. There's one thing I wish to ask. He readily agreed. Go on, speak. And so he got straight to the point. I wish to be reunited with my comrades in Wittenbach's. After hearing that request, Philip agreed. Wittenbach's, eh? It's quite deep behind our lines, but I'll allow it. I will have a carriage prepared for you, Jay replied cautiously. Thank you, Your Highness. Then he paused for a moment before asking again. Is there anything else? In response, Jay did not speak right away. I should have just stopped there. Slowly, his metallic eyes glanced to the side. Van Pergus, who was standing there, offered a small, encouraging smile. Thanks to that, Jew found the spirit to smile as well. Now the attendants and Philip himself were all watching him. Your Highness, I have a question. Philip, who seemed to have been waiting for this, excitedly replied, What is it? But as for Zhu, despite his lingering hesitation, he still voiced it. What are your thoughts on this war? A pensive silence fell over the room. Philip rested his chin on his hand, thinking. Van Peruse stood stiffly, her flushed cheeks beaded with sweat. Zhu forced a smile, thinking to himself, just as I expected. Everyone's flustered. It's only natural. I'm still just a lowly mercenary. His face darkened as he looked down and asked, So what are your thoughts? He looked straight at him and replied without hesitation. From my limited perspective, I cannot yet see the whole picture. But there is one thing that worries me right now. Sun burst out laughing, interrupting him. Oh, and what absurdity is worrying? You don't think you're qualified to advise the elector because you achieved one small feat? Vi, who was discussing strategy, also chimed in jokingly. That's right, Your Highness. You must have just heard some scrap of gossip somewhere. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke up. Van Peruse now joined the discussion. Your Highness, it wouldn't hurt to listen for a moment. Why not hear what he has to say? Frederick, his displeasure, obvious shot back. A lowly countess dares to speak up. In front of the elector, no less. She paid him no mind, listening silently, as Philip advised him. Uncle, she is the daughter of the elector of Bayern. Show some respect. Jay, enjoying the drama, thought to himself, Oh, that's Van Pergus for you. Even the Steel Elector can't ignore her. He resumed his pompous demeanor. Very well, continue. Hearing the question from Philip, tell me what you think of this war. Well, beads of sweat formed on his brow. Ju took a slow, deep breath. His words made both Frederick and Philip's eyes widen in shock. There's an ambush, Your Highness. He murmured the word, his voice low and somber. An ambush? What are you basing this on? Ju bowed calmly and replied, Yes. The demon Lord Pizarud's primary strategies always revolve around ambushes and betrayal. The images of monster hordes descending upon the towns and wreaking havoc. Even Anhan couldn't defeat them easily. Based on the war with the Toe Kingdom 15 years ago, Pizarud's sinister smile appeared. And in the battle against Marquis on Han 6 years ago, we can see that ambush tactics played a decisive role in both conflicts. Here, his eyes hardened. Even so, Philip and his men listened intently. We also cannot overlook his other tactic, betrayal. He slowly concluded. Are you saying, Philip said, his expression unreadable, that there's a traitor among us right now? Zhu wasn't entirely certain. I am merely presenting the possibility. His lips curled into a satisfied smirk at this answer. Caution is never a bad thing. Philip crossed his legs and continued. That's right. Caution. Then he suddenly grew angry, leaning forward aggressively. You have some nerve. Then Pergusen Zhu felt an immense pressure. Listen closely. The only reason your head is still on your shoulders is because I allow it. Do you understand? Know your place. She urgently tried to speak. Your Highness. He cut her off, replying, I understand. Van Pergus quietly watched Zhu, who was bowing his head beside her. She was sweating, her lips pressed tightly together. He stood up to take the blame. Please forgive me for overstepping my bounds. Jay turned sharply and left. Then I shall take my leave. Leaving with doubts, he thought. He's really suspicious. In previous attempts, the Steel Elector was usually more cautious. This time, he's far too arrogant. Zhu gazed into the distance, pondering to himself. Yes, something is clearly different this time. He startled connecting things that had seemed unrelated. First, the red dragon fruits appeared unusually early, and then Van Perus, who shouldn't have appeared at this point in time. Everything is different from my hundreds of previous attempts. Jay, deep in thought, accidentally muttered aloud, could it be? Suddenly, a voice called out, Sir Valois. He instinctively turned his head. Van Perus appeared panting heavily and drenched in sweat. She said cheerfully, I finally caught up to you. Before Zhu could process what was happening the night, Van Pergus quickly spoke up. You walk so fast. He ventured to guess. Did you run all this way because you were worried about me? Van Pergus replied innocently, of course. You felt a little happy thinking, oh my God, she's so adorable. She stepped forward to apologize for her superior. Please allow me to apologize on behalf of Elector Philip for his words and actions. If there is anything else you desire, I will make it happen. Vampirius boldly declared. Just say the word, whatever it may be. The reedy man began to have wicked thoughts. Anything I want. With his imagination running wild, Zhu began to come up with all sorts of scenarios. Aren't you being a little too confident? What if I asked for something completely unreasonable? She replied firmly. Do not underestimate me. My family is one of the wealthiest noble houses in the empire. He grew more and more excited. Money, that's not an issue. In that case, you must have a lot of clothes, right? Something made Zhu pause. He suddenly curled his lip into a suggestive smirk. Zhu thought of something he wanted. Give me a feather pen and a handgun if you would. The Vampire King. Huh? She stepped closer and asked again. Is that all, Valo? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He remained calm and composed. It's all right, Knight Van Perus. She hesitated, her expression unreadable. But suddenly tears streamed down Zhu's face like rain. My dream is to become a cavalryman. I was planning to use this opportunity to learn how to ride a horse. And the handgun is also part of my dream. Van Perus quickly ruined the mood. Then what are the tears for? He trembled with anger. These are the tears of a man, she exclaimed in admiration. I've never seen anyone live for others so much. Jay clenched his fists, trying to hold back his emotions. I've given up so many things. Knight Van Pergus. Van Pergus readily agreed. All right, this is no place for a heart-to-heart. She smiled, taking his hand and pulling him along. Follow me. Jay quietly watched the smiling girl in front of him. Nitch von Bearfish. His cheeks turned bright red. He was at a loss for words. Time passed. Sometime later, on a large field, two opposing sides appeared. The battle to retake Haphill-elect Philip versus the demon Lord Pidgeot. Riding his horse, Philip aggressively declared, Today will be the day I end you, Pidgeot. Pidgeot looked utterly disgusted, pinching his nose. Good heavens, can someone shut his mouth? His breath is so foul, I can smell it from here. Vincent approached from behind and announced, Sir, everything is ready for the battle. The man was pleased. Excellent. He looked concernedly at his master. My lord, are you really planning to use that woman? Ika. Pimlet replied impatiently. Are you asking about that again? Vincent recalled his previous trauma and stammered. But she's too ruthless. If we capture the Elector, he'll be a valuable hostage if we hand him over to that madwoman. The man took his point. I know. I'll handle her myself. Just trust me. Jamlet watched the stone on his ring glow. Speak of the devil. A familiar voice rang out. Greetings, my lord. A dark figure with a flowing cloak walked over the backs of its minions. I am ready. The man frowned and reminded her. Right? Good work. Be careful. All right. The person on the other side replied curtly. Yes. Pidgeymut narrowed his eyes and hesitated. About that. Could you maybe go a little easy on him? Put power in her legs and asked back. What was that? I'm never rough. He gathered all his strength and yelled. You're always rough. She gave a mischievous grin and looked from side to side. Oh, come on. Ha's expression suddenly changed. I'm very gentle, you know. A crafty, amused look appeared in her eyes. When have I ever been hot-headed? On Pidgeot's side, a sense of unease filled the air. I'm always gentle, she says. Vincent screamed frantically. Sir. The scene changed. Zoo was riding a horse at full gallop through the night. His eyes widened in disbelief as he thought, I can't believe it. This horse is named Philly. Its speed is beyond imagination. Looking at the black horse he was riding, Ju couldn't help but be amazed. And this is just a spare horse. This is truly the style of a Bavarian noble. An information panel appeared. Full recovery potion. Completely heals all wounds. Price 1,000 florins. He looked at the potion vial and smirked, thinking, she even gave me this expensive medicine. A single bottle costs 1,000 florins. That's as much as a building. Suddenly, there was a huge explosion right behind Zoo. Startled, he immediately understood the situation. Damn it, it's already started. I have to hurry. Remembering Philip's triumphant face didn't reassure Zoo at all. That arrogant steel elector has no chance of winning this battle. He's definitely going to charge, in completely unprepared. There's a high chance he'll be so badly wounded on a battlefield that he won't be able to get up. But Frederick had betrayed them to join Pidgeymut's forces. They laughed boisterously, their two pairs of deadly eyes staring at Philip, who was kneeling before them. Just as Jay had predicted, he was being utterly crushed, his voice filled with disbelief as he asked, You still don't realize your situation, uncle? Why would you betray us like this? The man rubbed his chin, and you still dare to call yourself a knight of the Empire. Frederick explained the whole story. The truth was revealed. Listen closely, Philip. You are now committing treason against Emperor Pizarut. He and I have joined forces. We are arresting you for betrayal. He moved closer to Philip, making a provocative gesture. How does this feel? Frederick's face revealed a vile expression. Can you feel it now? He was still stunned and confused. What the hell is this? Who would believe such ridiculous nonsense? A second later, Philip was kicked in the face. Do you think you're 12-year-old child? Stop dreaming and open your eyes. Look closely at what's happening in front of you. Bismuth leaned down with a cold smile. You really are a hopeless fool. He glanced back, snapped his fingers, and commanded, Tie him up now. Yes, sir. The subordinates quickly ran to carry out the order. He backed away in fear. Don't touch me. Philip's face turned pale, and his whole body trembled. I am a grand elector, a nobleman, you bunch of fools. Bismuth, annoyed, gave an order just as a vampire appeared from the sky. Hey, gag him. He's too loud. She landed a powerful kick to the man's face. The vampire landed safely. Bezemet ground his teeth in pain. She gave an urgent order. Quick, use this chance to escort His Highness away now. The soldiers behind her responded, Yes, understood. From the canyon behind them, more figures continued to appear, galloping toward Bezemet. A voice called out, At this rate, that Philip fellow is going to escape. The man snarled in frustration. Shut your mouth. You're giving me a headache. Bezemet sent a telepathic message. Hara, he's heading your way. Her tone sounded like she was thoroughly enjoying herself. Oh, so soon, he asked with confusion. Why haven't you acted yet? Hara was using a person as a chair to gaze at the night sky. I'm just having a little fun. Pigott, growing uneasy, repeated himself several times. I'm telling you, stop messing around. Damn it. The man became serious.